Hello and welcome back. In machine learning, many times we need to modify our data for it to appear in a certain way for some reasons, maybe to just work with the framework or data structures that are available to us, or maybe to improve the performance of the model, or just to make the interpretability of the model maybe improved. Now, to do that in PyTorch, we use what we call transforms, and that's what we're going to look at in this lesson. Hi, my name is Juma Shafara, and my duty is to bring programming materials closer to you so you can build your dream projects sooner. If that is interesting, we're just going to kick right in and get started. Now, to get us started, I have imported a few things: pandas and torch and the dataset class, which we are using to create our own custom dataset. And basically what's happening here is we are under the Boston dataset class. We have this init method, which is just basically reading our data from a CSV file. The CSV file is just right here in my folder, and then we are picking out x, and then we are also specifying what y is, the outcome, and then we can find the number of samples available by picking out the first value from the shape. Okay, then we have this get item, which just allows us to pick out samples from the dataset, as I showed in the dataset video. By the way, if you want to learn how to load custom datasets, I have a separate video in the description. Now, the final method here is the len method, which basically just allows us to check the number of samples in our dataset using this len method, this inbuilt len method. Okay, so we're just gonna run this and then we see what we have. I'm gonna be using this Visual Studio Code Python interactive window to see our output as we run our code. So I'm gonna also run this class. To run, I'm just doing Shift Enter, and then we are gonna create our custom dataset by running this part. And finally, we can see the data in row 1 and the number of samples in our dataset. So the data in row 1 is, as you can see it, we have all these features, and then we have the outcome as 21.6. We also have the number of samples as 506, just right here. Okay, this is good. We can be able to access our data using our custom dataset class, but there's one thing you can probably see is that this data is a numpy array. Our feature set is a numpy array, and usually when we are training machine learning models in PyTorch, we want to use a data structure called a tensor. Now, a tensor is really similar to the numpy array, but it is just way more powerful. Why it is more powerful is because it can be accelerated when run on some operations, rather, using the tensor can be accelerated to run much faster when using some hardwares like GPUs. And in this video, we are just gonna build a class to transform our dataset to a tensor from the numpy array. Now, we did this in the first video for creating the custom dataset class. Just write somewhere here, but this was acceptable because this is a really simple dataset. But sometimes when you are building a machine learning model, you may have several transformations that you may want to do on your dataset before you start to train your machine learning model, and more of the transformations are gonna be linked in the description. Also check out. But for this video, we're just gonna create a class and we shall use it to transform our dataset from the numpy array to a tensor. So let's just go down right here and create such a class. Now, what we are gonna do is we shall create a class called tensor transformer, like this, And then this tensor transformer is basically gonna take in really one important function, and you can put in others for some reasons, but for the purpose of the demonstration today we shall just use the call method. And this call method is gonna take in self and sample, the sample which we want to transform. What this call method does is, when our class is, this makes our class rather callable. So when we call it, it's just gonna run the bunch of code that we put right under here. So let's just see how we can transform the X set to a tensor by using torch.tensor. And torch.tensor takes in a bunch of parameters, but we shall just pass in 2 for now, which is the data that we want to transform. So we want to transform only the feature set, and the feature set is X. So I'm just gonna say sample, and I pick out the first item, and we are gonna just set this one somewhere here in the get item. The next thing we want to pass in is the data type to which we want to change the data type of the tensor that results. So this one can be torch.tensor. So let's just do that. Torch.float. We want to convert to a floating point number tensor. Okay, this is what we need for now. The only other thing we need to do is to specify the transformation for the y. So we need also to convert the y outcome also to torch tensor. So let's just do that. So let's do y tensor is gonna be equal to torch.tensor, and we can pass in the data as the sample. From the sample we want to pick out the value in the other position, and we also just want to convert this one to torch.float 32. Okay, easy like this. Now one other way to convert a numpy array to a tensor is by using a torch.from numpy. Okay, and then you can pass in the numpy array that you want to convert to a tensor. For this purpose, for this demonstration, I've just used torch.tensor only. Okay, so this call method is just gonna return the X tensor and the Y tensor as a tuple. So I'm just gonna enclose this one in brackets to just show this is a tuple. You know, if you didn't put them in brackets, still it would turn out as a tuple. So it's the same thing. We just want to just be more organized. Okay, now the way we are going to use this tensor is we are going to have a transform attribute put here in the init method of the dataset class, and we can set a default to none, so that in case no transformation is being provided, we don't have any transformation to do, but in case a transformation has been provided, then we transform the data accordingly. So let's just also specify here that self.transform is equals to the transformation that somebody will pass in when they are instantiating the class, the dataset class. Then the actual transformation is gonna be done whenever we are retrieving our data from the class. So this is, let's just do that somewhere under the get item. So let's just say that if let's first of all specify what our sample will be. So I'm gonna say sample is gonna be equal to this. So I'm gonna put this maybe in a tuple also, like that. And then we are gonna say, we're gonna check if a transformation has been provided by saying self.transform. So if it is not provided, the value of transform is gonna be none, and then the statements under the if here will not be executed. So we're just saying that if the transformation has been provided, let's just transform the sample accordingly by using this transformation that has been provided. So we shall do sample is equals to self.transform, and in transform we can pass in the sample. Okay, simple like that. Then we want to return the sample. Okay, this looks good for now, and I think I'm okay with this. Let's just try running and see. Hopefully we don't run into any errors. So I'm just gonna remove these outputs so we can run again. I'm just gonna again import this, and I'm gonna rerun our dataset class because we've made some changes. So let's just run this. And finally, let's also, not finally, but yeah, let's also run the transformer, the tensor transformer class. And now when we are instantiating our dataset, we need to specify our transformer or our transformation, and this is gonna be torch, rather not torch but tensor transformer, and we have to call it, like literally call it, because when we call it like this, that's when this call method is gonna be executed. So just make sure to add these brackets here. You don't have to put anything inside. This sample is gonna be handled when the get item method has been run. So this is okay. So we shall just run this cell, and now if we try to pick out the item in position 1, we can see that now it is a torch tensor. We see all the features, and the outcome is also a tensor. So this one can be very good for training our model. We can again also see the length. This one will not change, so it's gonna be 506. Okay, with this little addition, we have managed to transform our data from numpy to a tensor, and maybe we have gotten closer to training our machine learning model. So to recap, what we did in this lesson was to specify a transformation attribute, a transformation parameter here, and then attribute just right here, and then modify the get item method to perform a transformation on the data which we shall be retrieving by calling this transformation that we just defined somewhere out here in a class. Okay, now in PyTorch, when we are building machine learning models, we may have so many other transformations. I'm gonna put the link in the description, as I said earlier on. However, what you just want to do is to specify the transformation while you are creating your custom dataset, and then you can go ahead and use your data the way you like. Okay, that's it for now. Catch you in the next video.